Hi all, welcome to the Marquee Matchups for the week of the 7th of November. Plenty to cover this week with 15 routes all in total. We've got playoff games in Europe and cross-continent. We have World Cup games in Africa and then friendlies in Europe, with also touching on some league games in Europe as well that could sneak in as well. So we could smash the links, be awesome, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GSLegend. All the links are down below for playoffs in the channel and social media links as always guys. And I'm also doing a predictions league with everyone that does Marquee Matchups. We've got FootDad, FIFA Dappers, FIFA Analytics, Wagner. All the links will be down for everyone that is involved guys, so we're having a bit of fun. It's to pick our top 4 and then a wild card. So I will go over my top 4 and wild card picks for this week, so hopefully find this useful and fun. So Ghana versus Egypt is my first shout of the week, and it's not obviously what I fancy all told, because I've gave it a 5 out of 10 for likelihood if you're new. But Ghana versus Egypt, I've gone with Liga NOS, Ligue 1, and then we've gone with Amartey, who's EPL. But we've still managed to get at least 90 chem out of this. This is 96 chem. I could probably get to the 100 if I was to really sit down and look at it if it was required. But 2 all told from Ghana and Egypt. 3 nations, 4 rares, 77 rating, 90 chem. 70 to 10k for cost. They're not really working out very expensive. You're able to do them for around 20k at the moment. But 15k back and a 5 out of 10 for likelihood. Egypt's qualified and I think they're not required. Northern Ireland versus Switzerland has a strong shout this week. 6 out of 10. Northern Ireland have not been in the World Cup since 1986, and Switzerland has just had a marquee matchup in the form of the Swiss League versus Zurich and Basel. However, I would say this could easily be like my wild card pick of the week. It is really tough to say that they could, because Northern Ireland, as I said, haven't been in for so long. But you could build this route going of, I've kept the 3 leagues again of Liga 1, 2, 3 is my goalie, La Liga, and then the EPL options of Brunt and Xhaka to ensure I get the requirements. But for me, I would be also wary that I've made this all kind of Spanish, so they might ask for maximum from one nation, so be fully aware of that. Denmark versus Republic of Ireland is my first main pick of the week guys. I very highly fancy this because both teams want to be in the World Cup. Not Republic of Ireland have been through the playoffs before, most infamously in the 2010 World Cup playoffs against France with Thierry Henry's handball. But for me, 2 players from Republic of Ireland and Denmark, I've gone for Christensen of Chelsea and Ward of Burnley. But I've made this basically a Liga team to surround it. 99 chem, 78 rating, and I feel that would cover me all told. It's going to work out 70 to 10k, as I said, for pretty much most costs. You might be able to get a little bit cheaper, but 7 out of 10 for likelihood, and I really do fancy that option. Croatia versus Greece, I don't really fancy this because even though it's a playoff game in Europe, the importance of both teams, Greece and Croatia haven't had many World Cups in recent years. However, Greece has just had a marquee matchup, and Croatia, they don't have too many goals. Like Cerna's like a cheap option, Kovacic isn't too bad either, but the way we've built this kind of route is quite an interesting one, I would say. We've gone for Samaris of Benfica, Kalinic is the Ghent goalie, and then just built a Liga NOS team around it. Where it be allowed or not is a different matter, but obviously 5 out of 10 for likelihood. I really don't fancy it over some of the other options. Senegal versus South Africa is my wild card pick of the week guys. The reason being is this game is a replay of the match last year, and I really fancy this to happen solely because the game was played, South Africa won 2-1, and the game was rescinded due to the referee. All the info you can check on the internet, and it was sent to the Court of Arbitration of Sport, and because of that and the importance of this game, whoever wins this potentially could be in the World Cup, and that for me has a lot of importance. That's why I've not pushed it to a 7, but it would be a very strong shout in featuring if they wanted to go with this route. And we've gone for 2 leagues of Pro League and Dutch. But Nigeria Algeria is a big game in terms of both nations, but I've opted against it as one of my favoured picks. I've went for the Algerian gold left back that plays in Ligue 2. He's the only other gold. I think there's Marvo, but the left back is who I went for, and then Iheanacho as my striker, and then just built an EPL squad to kind of tick all the boxes for a 95 rated squad, 95 chem squad. and the squad's 79 rated, so it just kind of shows that if they were, you could easily go like an EPL way about this, which would be quite interesting. But plenty of nations covered, cost isn't too bad, and as I said, 15k pack, about 5 out of 10 for likelihood. Sweden versus Italy is my third shout of the week that I really do quite fancy. Sweden and Italy, both teams regularly in the World Cup. Italy last won it in 2006. The way I've went with this is probably not the most encouraging way, maybe because I've went with the whole of like Calcio A with Rasmussen, who plays in a completely different league, which is may help it, may not help it, but obviously plays in the Swedish league. But still, I've got the 78 rating, which is over the 77 I'm suggesting. But 7 to 10k for cost, 90 chem, 7 out of 10 for likelihood. Italy players, we've just had a requirement for it. Ivory Coast versus Morocco is my fourth shout of the week, guys. This is a big game in terms of both teams for qualifying for the World Cup. Morocco haven't been in the World Cup for nearly 20 years. 1998 was their last one. But the way we've went with this is kind of a mishmash mess, but it's got 3 leagues in it. So I've gone EPL, I've gone Ziyech, who plays for Ajax and Eredivisie, and then Jonathan Kodja, who plays for Aston Villa in the Championship. But we've got a 79 rating, 94 chem. If it was 95 chem, then we'd be a bit worried, we'd have to readjust a little bit. But I'd be able to do it, no problem. I'd be able to swap the players about. But 7 out of 10 for likelihood, I really do fancy this as a shout for the week. Democratic Republic of Congo and Guinea, I don't really fancy it as an option. I think this would be one option that would be very, not affordable, it would be more that there's very few really between both nations. And gold are quite limited as well, but Masuaku and Diawara would be the options everyone would probably invest in heavily if this was to come up. But 5 out of 10 for likelihood, and both teams don't really have a chance of qualifying for the World Cup. But 77 overall anyway. EPL squad and Diawara is Calcio A, so 2 leagues, but would it stand up? Hard to say, but as I said, I don't really fancy it. This is probably the least likely option I actually feel this week in terms of what actually is out there. So it just kind of shows you how difficult they have a chance. Honduras versus Australia. There is probably going to be one low route, but the problem is Honduras don't have that many players in the game. A lot of them play in the MLS, and if they had a bit more players, I would fancy this. Because they could, but saying that, they would easily make this maybe say just one player. They could just make it one player and you'd be sorted. But the way I went with this is Championship with the guy that plays up top plays in the Segunda Division, La Liga 1, 2, 3. So in theory you could maybe see it happen, but I've gone for a 5 out of 10 as long as it's 73 rating at least. And we've got 1 bronze in it because he's an Australian and plays in the Championship. But it's hard to pin down. I fancy one friendly pop-up, where it be of the England, Brazil, England, Germany, France, like kind of combo. One of them's going to pop up. I've gone with England and Brazil because England and Germany Germany are currently in a marquee matchups. So I'm thinking England and Brazil, because we've not had the EPL, and Brazil would be, there's lots of Brazilians across all of the leagues, so you could easily make this a hybrid. So I would say 79 overall rating, 7 out of 10 for likelihood, 7 to 10k for cost. It's not going to be much more than 10k to do because there's that many Brazilians and tons of English players between the top 2 divisions at least. And I've got, you can't really say 3 leagues because this is 1 league, but 3 nations at least, and you'd be kind of covered 4 rare players at least. And as I said, 90 chem. This would be my final outright shout of the week for a marquee matchups preference. So last option is Scotland versus Holland. Personally, I don't see this happening because there's not really that much to work with from a Scottish perspective for hybridising this for like Holland really, but still you'd still get a 78 rate squad out of this if it was EPL, and even putting Griffiths into the squad somewhere you could get away with 2 leagues. But personally, I wouldn't fancy this happening in my personal opinion. But 5 out of 10 for likelihood. As I said, EPL with Fletcher and Griffiths is what the squad is. In terms of other options, you can look into League 1 and League 2. I've gone for Shrewsbury and Challenge as an option that could crop up, and Gijon versus Valladolid. I've not featured them as routes because I'm not 100% convinced that they are going to cover it, but hopefully they're an option to keep you in mind nonetheless. So because smash likes, guys, would be awesome. Sub to the channel if you're new. Follow me on Twitter, G's Legend. Let me know in the comments down below what you fancy and what everyone else obviously went for, from if you came from other channels that are involved in the Predictions League. So take it easy all, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys all later.